Hey y'all, my name is Shauna. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to do part 1 of my November wrap up. And today's wrap up is going to be a lot of manga, so just prepare yourself for that if you decide to watch both videos. And let's go ahead and get into it. So the first series that I have read was volume 15 of 16, Demon Prince of Mamichi House by Ayo Shota. And that is about a young girl named Himari, and she is an orphan. And she turns 16, she gets a will that says that she is now eligible to inherit her parents' home, the Mamichi home. But what she doesn't know is that there is a secret to the Mamichi house, and it is that it is on the border of the spirit and the real world, and also that there is a pretty boy named Ayoi who is also the spirit guide for the spirits. And it's a fantasy series, so there's a lot of different kind of yokai, but there is also plenty of romance between Himari and Ayoi. And I really enjoyed the way the series ended. We get to see more of the Mamichi house's influence, and I also enjoyed that the way it ended kind of like in a satisfying way. It wasn't that Himari was able to break the curse of being the spirit guide. It was that, the house had to willingly give up Ayoi. Next book that I've read was also a series finale, and that was Our Harurai by Io Sakisaka, volume 13. And this series is a contemporary high school series that follows two characters who first met in middle school, got disconnected, and they re-met in high school. And it covers first love, first breakup, divorced parents, and parents that pass away. So it is there's plenty of sad moments, there are some happy moments, but this is a very emotional coming of age romance story. So I would just pay attention to that if that is not your thing. So the next two books I read is Night of the Ice Volume 3 and Night of the Ice Volume 4. And this follows a closeted otaku figure skater and his childhood best friend. And the figure skater cannot skate a perfect game unless his best friend says the magical girl spell that he loves to give him a confidence boost. And I enjoyed these volumes, but I'm also not enjoying the kind of miscommunication, jealousy that is happening in the latest volumes. I want to continue with the series, but it's not a series that is on my radar anymore. I'll wait until a couple volumes are out, and then I will get those, and then I will read those and see if anything changes in the future volume. Blue Flag Volume 4 by Kaito, and this is our summer festival volume, which I love. And I love this series because it is emotional, it is coming of age, it is contemporary, it is relationships, it is the questioning of should I love my friend who is the same gender as me. And I really enjoyed the artwork. Like there's Toma, and then there's just so many amazing, there's this spread of Toma and Taichi, and it's just a really fun, fun manga. So I would recommend reading it. You could also download the Shonen Jump app, and for 2 months of $2 a month, you could get access to their backlog. So I believe they have volumes 1 to 4 of Blue Flag up there that you can read. So if you don't want to spend the money for a physical volume or a digital volume, you can download their app and legally read these volumes for $2 a month. The next volume that I read is Wotakoi Volume 4 by Fujita, and this is a office romance with 4 otaku. So you have your BL otaku, your gamer otaku, your data game otaku, and then you have your cosplayer. And I really enjoyed this series because it's funny, it's got its lighthearted moments, it has its serious moments, and it's mainly just a fun, carefree office romance series. So, and this volume was just really fun because our characters that we're mainly focusing on are the ones on the cover, and that is the cosplayer and the data game otaku. And what I love about them is that they're quick to fight and they're quick to not make up. So I would definitely check out this series if you would like. So far we have 4 volumes, and they are actually omnibus because they're two Japanese volumes in one book. So the next books I read is volume 4 and volume 5 of An Incurable Case of Love by Maki Enoji. And this is a series that follows Nanase, who is a young woman who ends up deciding to become a nurse after she has an encounter with the doctor apprentice named Dr. Koji. And Dr. Tendo. And they slowly start to form a relationship. And Volume 5 had an annoying little interloper that didn't add to the story, so the series is ended in 2 more volumes, so volume 7 is going to be the last volume. So I'm still interested in continuing the series, but this volume just felt so unnecessary. And also like the back. Back is cute. Okay, so the next volume that I have read is Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun Volume 11 by Izumi Tabaki. And this is a kind of comic strip, lighthearted, do not take it seriously, contemporary about Nozaki-kun, who is a mangaka for a girls' romance magazine, and he uses everyday situations to feed into his story. And then it also follows Chio Sakura, who is this young classmate who is in love with Nozaki-kun, and she is just over the top. So like I said, the series is completely comical. It is not like a take it seriously. I do like seeing all the classmates kind of like work with each other, and I like to see the difference. Like you have the classmate who's secretly a good singer, but her underclassman does not believe that she is that singer. He's just like, oh, you're just playing a prank with me because you know how much I love that singer. So the next book that I ended up picking up is another Ayo Sakisaka book, and that is Incurable Case of Love Volume 2. And this is another contemporary high school romance. And I like it. Like, it deals with a lot of heavy kind of topics like first love and dealing with parents that remarry, and also the fact that when the parents remarried, they had 2 kids of the same age, a boy and a girl. So it was it was nice to read, but then volume 1 ended off with hey, the brother is in love with the sister. That's not something I love, so I picked up volume 2 just to see how they handled it, and they handled it pretty well. So I would still give the book a chance because it might still work. I mean, yeah. So next I read an e-manga called Practice Makes Perfect Volume 1 by Yue Hanamiya. And this is a series about 2 adult athletes. One is a Olympic volleyball player, the other one is an Olympic judo. And they decide that they are both inexperienced when it comes to intimacy of relationships, so they decide to meet up and practice those intimate relationships, hugging, holding hands, kissing, and other things. So this volume was really fun. I actually really enjoyed reading the first volume. I'm really excited to see how the second volume goes, because the first volume kind of ended with them realizing their feelings for each other and how they didn't want to do these other intimate acts with other people. So this manga is also an adult manga, so there are some sexual moments. So just make sure that if you're reading it, if that's not something you enjoy, just go ahead and give it a pass. And then finally, I listened to an audiobook, which is One of Us Is Next by Karen McManus. And this is a sequel to One of Us Is Lying, which was kind of like a Breakfast Club murder mystery. And that's kind of how the second one also goes. But this one is about a app a texting that happens, texting game of like Simon Says, and um, they want you to either do like a truth or dare thing. So you gotta either pick truth or you could pick dare, and if you pick truth, you have to kind of let everybody know your truth. Otherwise, if you don't pick anything or you don't do the dare, your secret gets leaked out. And this was a fun series. Like I kind of knew a part of the mystery, and I like that the fact that it's kind of its own book separate from One of Us is Lying. Like the only thing is that it's kind of like in the same universe, so I wouldn't call it a sequel. I would call it kind of like a a companion novel. So the audiobook was done nicely. Like I really enjoyed just laying in bed and listening to it. So if you are interested in murder mysteries and you don't mind like YA murder mysteries, I would try it out because it is very interesting. It also talks a lot about like classism and stuff like that. So I would definitely try it out if you're interested. So the next book I've read is The Girl from the Other Side, Volume 9 by Nagabi. And this is a series, it's like a historical fantasy series where you have the people that live on the outside are called the outsiders because they are slowly being overtaken by this plague that turns people into these black monstrous beasts. And then you have the insiders, which are the humans, and they live behind a wall, kind of. I would think like kind of like Attack on Titan, kind of, but not. And this series is just so good. It follows Shiva, who is a young girl who's on the outside. She's trying to find her auntie. She's waiting for her auntie, and she gets adopted by an outsider, and he still has his mind, so she calls him teacher, and they kind of just live their days, and the mystery of what caused the outsiders is slowly explored, and why is Shiva the only one not affected. So this is a really interesting series, and I do love the artwork. Like you have a whole page of no text, just Shiva running away from the guards of in the inside, because in the last volume she did get taken into the inside and she escapes back out into the outside. And the way this book ends is just so uh, it's just so sad, and I need volume 10 to come out like now. So the next book that I've read was another ebook called Cutie and the Beast Volume 1 by Yuhei Azumi, and this is a age gap romance with a pro wrestler and a 18-year-old high school student, and the high school student has been communicating with the pro wrestler through his Twitter account, and they're just slowly building up a relationship and a communication through that. And then she finally gets to go meet him in person during a meet and greet after an event, and they slowly start a tentative kind of relationship, but they're also having questions about age gap, and especially about the pro wrestler. He's like, he doesn't know if this is right because of how young she is, and it's a very good conversation on age gap romances. Like, age gap romances can be done right if it is true consenting adults, and even though she is 18, she is still in high school, so that is something that they are talking about. Next series that I got caught up with is going to be Demon Slayer. So I have Demon Slayer 17 and Demon Slayer 18 by Kiyohara Gotosh. And this is a historical fantasy series that follows a group of people who join a Demon Slayer group, and they go out and they hunt demons. The rest of the world is kind of oblivious to the fact that there are demons, and I really enjoy because most of the series is following the siblings, Tanjiro and Nezuko, and Nezuko was turned into a demon when the rest of Tanjiro's family was slain when he was away, and he works hard to kind of help his sister, help find a cure for his sister, and his sister is kind of one of those rare demons who she is still able to fight and regenerate without eating any human flesh. So this is just a really fun series and I'm really enjoying. Yeah, it's this one. So it follows mostly the backstories of Zenitsu, Inosuke, and then we get a little bit of the girl whose name is Kanon. And I just really enjoy reading this series. Like, it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's typical battle shonen. Like, there's a new boss every time. So if that's not your cup of tea, you might want to skip the series. But if you do like watching that kind of anime, this does have an anime series also. You can watch the first season on Crunchyroll, I believe. Hulu also has it, and I don't think Netflix has it. I think it's Hulu. And speaking of continuous series, I also finished volume 17 of The Promised Neverland. And this series follows a group of orphans who end up being raised in an orphanage to be food for demons. And they don't know that until a trio of them go and they see the demons. So now their goal is to escape the orphanage and go out into the demon world to get back to the human world, because there's a treaty, I believe it was called the 1,000-year treaty or 100-year treaty, between the demons and the humans, basically, where humans stay on that wall, you go ahead and raise your food on that wall, we won't interfere. So it's a very interesting kind of dystopian feel, and I really enjoyed the series. And this volume, you've dealt with a lot of betrayal, so I'm really looking forward to reading volume 18 to see how that betrayal is handled. And then the last volume I'm going to cover in this video is going to be The Dorm of Love's Secrets, Volume 1 by Nikki Asada. And this is a contemporary series following these two schools that were merged together. So you have the laid-back students and the hardcore students. So you have the smarties and the dummies. And one of the laid-back students, she loses her dorm basically, and she could either commute or she could drop out of school. And one of the smarty kids is like, hey, we have a vacancy in our dorm. Catch is, you have to pretend that you're one of the smarty kids or else you get thrown out. So she decides to take him up on that offer, and she's trying her hardest to pretend she's one of the smart kids. And it's really fun and different from what I've read. This is only the first volume, so we're building up, that conflict of her being an outsider in a dorm that she's not supposed to be in, and then also a relationship with one of the dorm people. So I'm really curious to see how this mangaka does this series. So I have volume 2 waiting for me. And that is it for this video. Comment down below if you have read any of these books. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.